So, Dr. Hari Prasad Kovelamudi, if I'm not wrong, did I announce it
that's
right?
right.
Right. Welcome to In Conversation with Dev, sir, first of all, and I'm glad that I'm hosting you. Former President Apollo Hospitals, non-executive director, as well as Group Chairman, Quality Care Limited, India. And of course, a month back, you had your retirement, if I'm not wrong, and clearly retirement doesn't suit you. So, how's everything going on, sir? How are you?
Good. It's been 35 long years in the
Right.
industry and multiple opportunities to learn and gain experience during the last 35 years, out of which 28 years have been with Apollo.
Right.
So I retired on the 31st of March and took up the role of a non-executive director, but group chairman of Quality Care India Limited, which includes all the care hospitals in the country, KIMS Health in Kerala, and Evercare in Bangladesh. So this has got about 4,500 to 5,000 beds and is amongst the top 5 healthcare providers in the country.
Right.
So being a non-executive role, I think it gives me more time for myself, and I'm now beginning to have time to pursue my own interests and have more time for the family, and so it's a new phase in life, settling down into it.
Right. And I hope I can make contributions to your new phase. I hope you love this podcast. But sir, to begin with, I have heard your interviews, I've seen your interviews, and there are lots of questions that I wanted to ask which is already covered, so I would not go that route. I'd want to understand, if at all you can describe yourself in 3 words, how would you?
Open-minded learner.
All right. And how many years does it actually took you to actually come to this conclusion?
No, I've been like this from the beginning, and I think learning is a continuous process. There's never an end, and I always compare this to a mountain peak. If somebody believes that they've reached the peak, there's nothing which is static, everything keeps moving.
Right.
So if somebody believes that they've reached the peak, the only way is down the hill.
You can't actually say that you have completed until...
So one has to continuously believe that there's more to learn, more to do, and more to contribute. And so all along my career, that's been my vision and goal, and that's what I continue to have in my mind.
Right. And since you have told that it was from the beginning, now let's go to the beginning actually. You played for Ranji Trophy Hyderabad, right? And that's very unusual. Yeah, I mean, that's very unusual of, to think of you as a cricketer. So how was that journey? How from a cricketer to being, what you are today?
Actually, I studied in Hyderabad Public School, Begumpet, where sports was given as much importance as studies were given, and I somehow developed a passion for cricket, and I started doing well, and the school really encouraged me, and I played Ranji Trophy while I was in school, while I was in my 11th standard, I guess. But my father was a doctor, and he established the first, amongst the first private nursing homes in the city. And right from my childhood and as I was growing, a mindset was created in me that I would always be a doctor, and I would take care of Dad's hospital and grow it.
Right.
So once I finished my 12th, luckily that year, the government introduced 1 seat in sports quota in the medical admissions.
Right.
So having played the highest grade of the game at that point of time, I was pretty sure that I would get that seat. But unfortunately, I don't know what happened, but it was given to another person. And actually my dad went up to the Supreme Court to make sure that I got my seat in medicine. So after getting into medicine, I thought, I came from a background where the educational institution I was studying in, that's a public school, was very encouraging and facilitated my playing for different levels of the game. So I continued to play, and that year I was playing multiple levels, so I was away from the college for a decent period of time. And when the exams came up, I was not allowed to write the exams because I did not have the attendance. So at that point,
what kind of a student were you, sir? You did not have attendance.
I didn't have attendance because I was playing cricket.
Oh, okay.
I was playing cricket for the
Fair
state.
enough. Fair enough.
So it was not that I was bunking classes and roaming around. It was because I was playing cricket all the time.
Right, okay.
And at that point, I decided that I had to take one route. I can't walk on two parallel tracks.
Right.
So in those days, cricket was not a career.
Correct.
So I chose to give up cricket at that point of time and pursue my medicine. If I had to take the decision today, I would have probably given up medicine and taken cricket, because cricket is a much bigger career and
glamorous,
much more lucrative career
right,
than it was
right,
at that point of time.
Right.
So that's how my transition from cricket to medicine happened.
Right. Would have seen you play cricket as well, sir. The kind of work that you have done, I think I would have enjoyed taking an interview, even if you were a cricketer. But having said that, life happened. As for everyone, life certainly happens, and for you also it did. We know not much about the health industry or the medical industry. We don't know much about it, because I believe that medical industry or health industry, there are lots of things in under curtains, and there are certain things that we do not know as general public as we speak. But I really want to understand, how has life been to you as the former president of Apollo Hospitals? And it's very easy for me to tell the tags that you were so and so in a certain hospital, but again, that's the biggest private hospitals that we have in India, the biggest chain of private hospitals. So I want to understand, how was life exactly, and what kind of pressure did you have to go through? Was it easy or was it hard? How was it for you?
First of all, it was very exciting.
Okay.
And I had a passion for healthcare.
Right.
So when there is passion and when what you do is exciting, then the rest of the things like pressure and stress and all these things take a back seat.
Perfect.
When you're enjoying your work. So I joined Apollo when they were, the institution had 3 hospitals, Chennai, Hyderabad and Delhi. And 28 years later, when I left Apollo, the Apollo institution has 75 hospitals.
Right.
So it was very exciting to be a part of the growth journey for an institution of that nature. It was the first hospital, and all the 28 years I've been with Apollo, it occupied the leadership position. So that's a very gratifying thing for me, that I've been able to be a part of that journey, which created a system like Apollo. And at a point where there was only one instance where I felt stress or pressure, and that was during the COVID.
Right.
I guess the whole world was under pressure, but there was a lot of pressure on us, because it was not a disease which was known. Everything was unknown about it, and we were dealing with the unknown. And there's always a lot more tension when you're dealing with the unknown rather than when you're dealing with something which you know about.
Right.
So COVID was unknown, and there was shortage of everything. There was shortage of medicines.
I think that was a wake-up call for the world, that we were not ready or equipped to be facing such kind of pandemic.
Yeah, truly, it was a wake-up call. And apart from not having enough knowledge about the virus itself,
the resources,
I think the resources that were required to handle the
situation,
epidemic, were also not available.
Right.
So that period was really stressful, especially during the second wave of COVID, where there was a shortage of oxygen, there was shortage of beds, there was shortage of medicines, and there were patients just pouring into the hospitals, and were finding it very difficult to find a bed in the hospital. At that point of time, there was a lot of pressure from all quarters, but I think that gave me an opportunity to help a lot of people, and also go beyond the call of the duty to really reach out and make a difference in lives of at least a few people. So although there was a lot of pressure, I think it was at the end of the day very satisfying to have been able to contribute to the response of COVID in a small way.
Right. So on that grounds, I remember the whole situation because I was one of the public, and of course you are from the healthcare industry, so you would know much more about it. But at the same time, I also know that people have suffered a lot, and there were always questions on the hospitals, right? There were questions on the integrity. There were questions. I mean, certainly certain people were very happy, but at the same time, the situation kind of actually made people stop believing in the system, the healthcare system of India. But that said, comparatively to the different countries which was much more affected, I think France, Spain was one of them. We actually handled it way better than them. But at the same time, what are your comments on how India handled, and how do you think, if at all, we are ready for a second pandemic such, not just COVID, but anything that we do not know yet? How do you think we can go about?
I think the first thing is India handled COVID much better than the rest of the world. Even compared to the developed countries like US and Europe, India handled it much better.
Right.
And apart from the government and the policies like lockdowns and stuff like that, I think the healthcare sector played a major role in that, both public and private sector.
Right.
So it really doesn't make sense to blame the healthcare sector after having done such a big job.
Right.
See, for a common man, I mean, not just a common man, everybody in the world was running away from the virus, while healthcare providers were actually running towards the virus
against, like a war.
And they were actually handling patients with the virus, and they were sitting next to the patient with the virus and treating those patients. So I think the healthcare fraternity did a fantastic job during that period, and it is at the end of the day become something like a thankless job, because we lost lives. A lot of healthcare workers too, succumbed to the virus, and they could have sat at home, they could have refused to treat patients, but that's not what healthcare profession is about. It is about responding to the people when the need arises. And I think across the country, all the healthcare professionals responded extremely well. There were people who did not come home for months together because they were worried that they would carry the virus from the patient and the hospital to home.
Right.
There were people who did not move out of the hospital for months together. So there were a lot of sacrifices made by the healthcare sector. And if at all there is any criticism about the way healthcare professionals responded to the period, I think it's extremely unfair and it is baseless.
Right. So kind of appreciation that the healthcare system also has gotten through media. Do you think that has played a major role for you to actually going forward the situation?
Actually, the biggest incentive during the thing was not about praise, not about criticism. I think the biggest incentive was about making a difference in people's lives
and saving
responding to people when they needed us the most. That was the biggest incentive, and I think that kept us going in a big way. And even now, when I look back, the patients that we could save, the patients that we could respond on time and actually make a difference. It's not only about the patient, it's about the entire family, it's about the community. I mean, it was an environment where everybody was involved.
Correct.
So it was making a difference for a larger ecosystem, which I think is the most satisfying thing.
And how was the government's involvement, and how was its support for you?
I think that is one time during the COVID, the entire initiative, the government and the private sector worked hand in hand. And that was a great example. And one of the reasons India handled COVID much better than any of the developed countries also is because the way the government and the private sector worked together. We were actually on a WhatsApp group, starting from the union government to the union bureaucrats to the state bureaucrats, and anything which happened, any insight that came in, anything that was required, that WhatsApp group actually united the entire policy makers, policy executors and the healthcare profession together, and it helped us to respond much more quickly, and it helped us to react and respond much faster. And one great example I can give you is the speed with which the vaccines came into the country.
Correct.
And that could not have happened without the actual participation of the government in terms of approving the vaccine after going through the safety measures and everything that needed to be done. And the vaccines were from the private sector. So unless both the sectors work together very closely, it would not have been possible to create that vaccine. And I think the vaccine made a big difference in controlling the epidemic, not just in India, but over 100 countries to which the vaccine was exported from India.
Right. Talking of that, it's very unfortunate of COVID, but how do you think, are we ready? Is India ready to handle such kind of situations ever again?
See, if it is very unpredictable.
Right.
So, sitting now, if we think back and say if another COVID happens again, we will definitely say that we are better handled because we had the experience of handling the epidemic in the past. But most often, it's once in a lifetime, once in a generation sort of an incident that such things happen. And when it happens, it depends on what is happening. Because COVID had multiple characteristics in it, in which made it a disaster for the humanity. One was it could spread very, very easily from person to person. Two, there was no known treatment which was available for the virus.
Were sometimes hidden.
The virus kept mutating, so the symptoms kept changing, how the people reacted kept changing. And fourth, the medical professionals did not have enough knowledge about it because it never happened. It was a new thing. So for any disease to be understood and diagnosed and to be treated, a proper treatment developed, it takes years. And this happened within a few days. So next epidemic, you don't know what it is going to be. But when it happens, I really hope that it will not be as bad as COVID was.
Hopefully, yes, sir. So as we go now in the future, let's say 5 years down the line, I believe that whatever healthcare system we have today, that is good, not just good, it's better than other countries as well. India has also become the medical spot, tourism spot as of now. The kind of advancements that we are at, countries are looking upon us as of now. But at the same time, do you think that India is getting not so healthier? Because I have known about different problems. I've known people who are suffering from cancer nowadays. That's like a huge problem. Maybe 1 out of 10 is suffering from cancer as of now. And let's talk about heart attacks as well. Many people, even in the media, we are seeing celebrities, succumbing to heart attacks or cardiac arrest, etc. So, how do you think are we as a country forwarding in terms of health?
See, first thing to understand is the disease profile in the country has changed big time. In the past, it used to be infectious diseases. People, we were worried about things like malaria, cholera and stuff like that, which are infectious. Now, there is a whole set of diseases which we call non-communicable diseases, which are these cancers, heart diseases, strokes and stuff like that, which the incidence has really increased. And unfortunately, Indian population has been proven and demonstrated that diabetes, hypertension, heart diseases are more common in the Indian people than in the Westerners.
And
so it is a proven scientific thing.
And the reasons?
And the reasons is probably it is a genetic thing. So genetically we are more prone to diabetes, the incidence is much higher, and it is also said that the blood vessels which carry blood to the heart are bigger in a Caucasian population and are smaller and narrower in an Indian population. So there are multiple things which make an Indian more prone to heart diseases or any of these NCDs. And the more dangerous part is these things are happening at a much younger age in an Indian population than in the Western population. So that makes it a bigger challenge for the country. Now, irrespective of incidence and the disease profile, I don't think any country has the GDP to treat all the illness that will happen in the country. So what is really required is prevention, as the first step. Second step is early detection and treatment.
Right.
This costs much lower money, much lesser money
Right.
than actually diagnosing and treating at a later stage.
Correct.
Right now, I think in India, we are incentivized to wait for a real serious condition to happen and then get treated.
Right.
There is no incentive for preventive health, there is no incentive for early diagnosis, because none of us believe that our annual health check can actually throw up a disease which can be diagnosed early
Right.
and
Right.
a serious condition prevented.
Right.
And I am a great example for that myself, because I am a diabetic. About 10 years ago, normally they used to take blood for me for my blood sugar test. So I was absolutely fine. They came for a regular blood sugar test, and the guy who took the blood said, "Sir, I took a little more blood than is required for the blood test. So what do you want me to do? What other tests what do you want me to do?" I said, "Just little more blood, just leave it."
Okay.
But actually what they did is they did a complete blood picture with the blood, because it was already taken.
Right.
And that actually showed that I had a leukemia, which is a type of blood cancer.
Right.
And that was a very fortunate incident, because it was diagnosed at a very early stage, and I could get treated and completely recover from that disease. Now, had I not been diagnosed at that stage, and had I been diagnosed after the complications started occurring, then I don't know if recovery would have been complete, or what would have been the outcome of the disease.
Right.
So I think preventive health, early diagnosis and treatment are the key to keeping the nation healthy, and a lot more needs to be done in that direction.
Right.
And people need to be incentivized to remain healthy.
Right.
And government is also talking about health insurance schemes for 5 lakhs for pre-treatment and stuff like that. But I think what is more important is, instead of spending money on illness, the governments need to start spending money on wellness. That is clean drinking water,
Wow.
hygiene,
Right.
proper drainage systems,
Right.
control of mosquitoes and all the vectors which can cause disease. I think all these things prevent a lot of illness that can happen in the country. So the incentive should be towards wellness and prevention rather than actually treating people.
Right. I think what you just told, I think it's going to be forever now, because I think it's a very powerful statement that has been made. But at the same time, let's talk about things that are not in our control, because we as human beings, we are very rational. And until and unless something worse or something bad happens, we don't take a step forward. And of course, incentivizing, such kind of thing, sorry, I fumbled. These kind of steps are again, little bit problematic for us. So how do you think people can actually make sure that they take insurances, or there are different channels again, but still there is a certain lack of information, or let's say there's a certain lack of people actually taking these kind of steps forward to taking health checkups, let's say annually. So I want to understand, what is your take on it? How exactly can we make sure that people are taking these steps, they are subscribing to these kind of models?
See, first thing is, I don't accept that there are things beyond our control when it comes to healthcare. I believe that everything is in our control.
Okay.
And again, instead of talking about rest of the world, it is I can give you an example of myself. Once I came out of cancer, I realized, I sat back and thought there was so much of love and care that was given by family, friends, colleagues at the hospital. I was really grateful to them for the way they helped me out. So I said I should do something for them and the society in general, for the love that I received. So I sat back and thought about what could go wrong with me. At that point of time, I was exactly double my weight. I was 120 kgs at that time. And then I was a severe diabetic, taking 6 tablets in the morning and 6 in the evening, but still with uncontrolled diabetes. And then I had all the wrong habits, eating junk, eating the wrong food, and not sleeping adequately. So all I did was, I decided that I'm going to change the way I live. So from that day, what I did, I started sleeping. I sleep by 9 o'clock in the night wherever I am, and then I wake up at 5 o'clock for 1.5 hours. I'm in the gym working out. Then my diet is very, very controlled, and it is not that I don't eat. It is that I eat healthy.
Correct.
I have my 3 meals. I eat healthy, and now I am exactly half the weight that I used to be. My diabetes has disappeared over the last 3 years. I am not taking any medication for diabetes, and diabetes is under control. My hypertension, I've stopped all medications, and it is under control. So I think one of the biggest things, at least as far as health is concerned, it is in your hands, and you should take control of it. The individual should take control of it and make sure that they live a healthy life.
Right.
That is very, very important.
Right.
And the second part of it is you spoke about insurance, health insurance.
Right.
Now I find it very funny in our country that if you buy a motorbike, a two-wheeler, you cannot get the motorbike out of the showroom onto the road without it being insured.
Yes, sir.
But you are not insured. So what we are doing is we are giving more importance to the vehicle in case it meets with an accident to get it repaired, rather than the individual who's riding the vehicle who's going to get injured
Right.
and would need hospital treatment.
Right.
So I strongly believe that health insurance must be made mandatory. When it's made mandatory for vehicles, why can't it be made mandatory for the human beings?
Right.
I think health insurance must be made mandatory, and obviously there are going to be a significant section of the people who are actually cannot afford to pay even the insurance premium. I think the government should start paying for the premium
Subsidies,
for not a subsidy, should pay the premium for it.
Okay.
So that everybody in the country has an health insurance and has similar access to quality healthcare as anybody else.
Right.
So today there is a divide between the rich and the not so rich in terms of how much they can access healthcare and
Or
what
afford.
sort of they can healthcare. So the divide will only go when the health insurance is made mandatory and everybody has access to the same type of healthcare in the country, and that's, I think, the most important thing as far as healthcare is concerned.
Right. So with the population of country, do you think it's doable? Do you think it's actually doable?
I don't believe.
Does India have the bandwidth?
I think it is.
Okay.
It is. Now you look at Ayushman Bharat. It's a massive program which has covered some 50-60 crore people in the country.
Right.
Now, it's for it to really succeed, I think all the stakeholders should be involved in it. And all the stakeholders should be happy about it and should be able to contribute towards it. In this, the stakeholders are the government, the providers, that is the hospitals and the doctors, and third thing is the people. So all the three need to work together to be able to make that a successful one. And I think some movement has begun towards it, and I firmly believe that it is possible, provided it receives the focus and attention that it deserves, and it deserves complete attention from all sections.
Right. What are we lacking?
We are lacking the vision, and then the will,
All right.
and I think the ability to change.
Or challenge ourselves, perhaps?
No, change, because we have obviously got our independence from British,
Right.
and we have inherited some of the British systems of healthcare. And in UK even today, healthcare is mainly in the public sector and the government pays for it.
Right.
And they are struggling to deal with healthcare, and they don't have the money to provide for healthcare for all the people, and the waiting times. If you need an MRI in India, you can walk across and get it done in 15 minutes.
Right.
If somebody needs an MRI in UK, they'll have to wait for 15 days to 1 month, 1.5 months. So
Right.
that is the status that they've got into.
Right.
So that sort of a mindset has remained in some people in India, where they believe that the personal protective equipment for the doctors.
It was
And
imported
it
by
had to be imported,
Correct.
and there was global shortage. and very soon India started manufacturing itself, and today we export
We are
PPEs to the other countries. And initially, where we used to see almost 80% of what we use in terms of whether the machinery, the technology, or the consumables were imported, and they all cost a lot of money. Now, with the Make in India push, I think a lot of these costs are going to come down, because what goes into good quality healthcare, if the input costs come down, then the cost of healthcare also would come down. So I think it's a very good thing that the Make in India push is happening, and I really hope we are already the pharma capital of the world, and the cost of medicines is probably the lowest in the world in India. And second, and now next is the consumables like the heart stents or the knee joints, whatever is used. Once they are made in India and the doctor fraternity gets good confidence in the terms of the quality of what is made in India,
practice,
I think it will make a big difference in bringing down the healthcare costs.
I think majority of it is also coming through the entrepreneur push that's there in India currently. I think lots of people with great ideas, and I also believe that there are very few visionaries because of which life gets easier to live on this earth. Right from the early man stage we talk about till today, I believe there are very few generous human beings, women, men, all kind of genders, who have actually contributed to actually making our lives easy, right from making a TV to an AC to a telephone. And entrepreneurship and the wave of entrepreneurship that's there in India currently, I'm sure it's going to change the face of healthcare as well. So how do you see the future of healthcare with the current generation and the kind of wave that we are seeing?
I think the future is going to be only better, because apart from the entrepreneurship and the rest of the things that are happening, there is a lot of innovation happening in healthcare. Now the innovation, for example, today once somebody is diagnosed with cancer, we can go to the actual genetic level of the cancer and give very, very specific treatment for that particular cancer, which was not available to us in the past. And similarly now robots have come in. What robots do is help the surgeons to make do the surgery very precisely, very effectively, and make sure that a very good job is done with minimal impact on the surrounding structures. So that way there's a lot of technological innovation that is happening, and which would actually make care safer, quicker, and with better outcomes.
More efficient.
And there's another new thing, innovation which is happening is in terms of the models of care. Like in the past, if somebody had a heart surgery, they would be in the hospital for 1 week to 10 days and then go home. Today, people are going home on the second day, third day, but they are still connected to the hospital because they have devices which are there on them, which are connected with the hospital, and they are being monitored from the hospital. So connected devices, telemedicine, eICUs, tele-emergency. So there are many things which are happening which are changing the models of care, and changed models of care will also bring about the change in the way healthcare is delivered to the people, and it also will make people more involved into healthcare so that they understand it better. So I think overall we are going to see the outcome of the innovation that is happening, which is only going to improve healthcare, both in terms of its delivery mechanism and in terms of the patient receiving the care.
Right, perfect. So now we have spoken a lot about the profession part. Now let's get into the personal, aspect of your life. Former president, Apollo Hospitals, and now group chairman of Quality Care India, non-executive director. If I were at your place, probably I would have taken the retirement, but you have retired and then you have started the service again. What's your mindset as of now?
No, I was very clear that God has given me an opportunity to learn, gain experience, and it should not be lost, it should be useful.
Right.
But at the same time, I should, as an individual, be able to pursue my own interests, and it should give me the time.
Right.
So I think the role that quality care has offered me gives me that opportunity where I can contribute and give back what I've learned and what I have gained as experience, and also gives me enough time to pursue my own passion and give more time to my family, travel. So it's not a complete retirement,
Right.
but it's still
Giving you that space.
giving me that space and
Right.
giving me the time for doing things which I want to do.
Right. And how did your family react to this decision of yours?
The family was actually excited about it because first they didn't believe it because I was in Apollo for so long that they never believed that I would retire ever.
Okay.
But then once they realized that I was and I had decided, they were excited that I would be able to get much more time for things which I could not do in the past.
Right. How was your association with Apollo hospitals, and how is it now with Quality Care India? And looking back, of course, you have changed. That's too big. Probably two big hospital chains that we have in India. So how was the transition? Was it emotional for you?
Coming out of Apollo was definitely emotional.
Okay.
Because it was like home for me for 28 years, and we were all like a family at Apollo.
Right.
So it was like very emotional at that point of time to come out. And care again made sure that the family environment is there, and there is respect, and people are taken care of in care. So although my association with care has been only for a month now, it's just beginning, but I see that they are also have a similar family and bonding nature as a part of the DNA of the company.
Right.
So I think I will very soon settle down and start contributing to the new system that I've planned.
Right. So now, as I've mentioned, I'll be talking more about your personal life now. When was it that you thought that you're going to get married, or you want to get married?
That's a big story. Now, my wife was my classmate.
Oh, okay.
And I told you I stopped from writing the examinations because of lack of attendance.
Right.
And also she was going to become my senior and I would become a junior.
Okay.
So that is when we decided that things may not go well once this
senior
junior thing happens. So we might as well get married now itself. So we actually got married at the end of our first year in medicine itself. So it was a very, very early marriage for us.
And how did your parents take this decision?
The parents were not against the marriage, but all they said was make sure that you do not get disturbed from your academics, and you make sure you complete your courses and you do well in profession and life, and let marriage not be a distraction from that. That was their concern.
Very welcoming. I'm not sure how my parents would take that, but at the same time, how many years has it been, sir?
It's been nearly 40 years now.
40 years, long time.
Yeah.
How has been the journey?
It's been a great journey, and the good thing is both of us are medical professionals, and both of us have been extremely busy throughout our lives, and because we are doctors and we understand what it takes to become successful in the healthcare profession, it was much easier for us to really
maneuver through life,
go through different phases of life.
Right.
And we've got two lovely children, and my daughter is a doctor. She's a cardiologist, and she lives in the US. She's married to a cardiologist. They have 2 kids. My son is an engineer, but he's become a serial entrepreneur and is doing multiple things. So he lives with me in Hyderabad. So life has been good, and life has been exciting so far.
So I have actually heard that when a couple is in the same profession, there would be problems. That's been what I have heard about. but you told that you both complement since you are both from the same industry. So how do you look at this?
I mean, it's been like that. Like initially, before I became an administrator or before I joined Apollo, I'm an anesthetist.
Right.
And my wife is a gynecologist. So I used to give anesthesia and my wife used to operate. So the complementing part started from there itself.
Okay.
And later I came out and she continued to work in her hospital. She started multiple hospitals and I joined Apollo. So we didn't work together, but we knew the pressures and the time what each of the jobs take. So it was, I mean, I think a marriage or any relationship is about understanding and making sure that the other person is comfortable with what we are doing. And I think being in the same profession and understanding what it takes to be successful for each other makes it that much easier for everybody to really, for both the partners to move ahead and take things in their stride.
Right. So 40 years married and happy now. I just want to add this question because I want to take the leverage here. What are the 3 tips that you'd want to give to the couples basically to lead a healthy marriage?
One is you need to give space to your partner. Both the partners need to have their individual space, and they cannot be tied down by something all the time. So the individual partners need to have the space. Second thing is, I think each partner should take pride in what the other partner is doing.
Right. The mutual respect.
I think the mutual respect and the pride for what the partner has achieved should always be there.
The gratitude.
Yeah. And the third and most important thing is what you said is the gratitude, because after a phase in life, it all becomes about giving, because the children are born, you need to take care of the children. So it all becomes about giving, and it has to be done together. If it is done as an individual, it doesn't work. So I think these are the basic things what it takes to be happy over a longer period of time with a partner.
Right. So from here, how are you seeing your life as well?
From here, I've just started a new phase in life. I would look at what I could contribute to the quality care system and how I could help in this role. And then I'm looking forward to spending more time with my family and traveling to US more often to spend time with my grandchildren and daughters. And then I'm also planning, I have a passion for creativity. So we're doing some work on creativity in terms of digital, and there are multiple options on the creativity front. So that is another aspiration which I had. I did not have the time for when I was working full time. So that is another thing which I'm trying to pursue.
So there are other things also that I do apart from the podcast. One of them is Project C Foundation, which is a non-profit organization, and that's probably that's basically for mental health. What we're trying to do is we're trying to collaborate with education institutions throughout the world and make sure that we establish mental health awareness clubs in the institutions. So this is something that I've been doing, and I wanted to take your comments, not now, maybe later, and see how exactly
we can do something.
Right. And I want to basically understand the importance of mental health as of now, because physical health is much said and done, and it's a perpetual thing. But at the same time, I think it breaks my heart to see children, not just from backward classes, but also people who are actually well aware of different aspects, even them, taking drastic steps and self-harming themselves. How do you see this notion, and how do you think that we can make a difference?
I think mental health was always a problem, and it got multiplied by what happened in the last 5 years.
Correct.
One is the whole thing of being confined to the 4 walls during the COVID period created new problems.
Right.
And second thing is, there's a huge difference between how you are interacting. If you are interacting with human beings, then your mental state is different. But if you are interacting with gadgets all the time, then your mental state is different. I think there has been a huge problem in terms of the amount of time spent on interacting with people is coming down. and gadgets are taking up more of your time.
Right.
I think that is contributing significantly to mental health.
Right.
And I'm glad that we are seeing more and more awareness about mental health and more initiatives to take care of mental health. So it is a very, very important aspect of it. And unless addressed, I think it can create a major problem across the country for the next generation, future generations.
Right. And how's your home? Like, how are you making sure that the balance is there, the gadget and the people balance? How are you taking steps?
Well, a few things we do at home is breakfast and dinner is always together. All of us sit together and eat.
Right.
No phones, no television, nothing. That's the half an hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour. We make sure that we talk to each other and we spend time with each other. And when especially my children, we made sure that their screen time is minimal when they were being brought up. And now we are trying to do the same thing to our grandchildren.
Right.
You can't have zero screen time, but if you minimize the screen time, that helps a lot more, because that gives them time to interact with you and to be able to open up your mind and learn a lot more things.
Right. I've actually seen your Instagram post where you're very warm with your grandchildren. It was lovely to see the pictures as well. And I also believe that at certain point of time, I think we stop learning, but also start learning from others, not just from academic or something like that, but we also stop learning from our peers and start learning from the younger ones. What are the biggest learnings that you have learned from your grandkids?
One of the things which I don't know if it's a learning or
I feel funny.
but what I realize is there is a generational change in terms of the mindset, in terms of the expectations, in terms of what they want to do, in terms of how they want to do. So there's a generational change. And I think as parents or grandparents, we should accept that change and deal with them according to that. Now children are much more faster in absorbing things, in learning things. They want to be more independent than what we used to be when we were kids. They want to do more now than what we used to do when we were kids. So we should be able to adapt to that new requirements of the newer generation, generational change as we call it, and facilitate it. If you resist it, then that's going to cause a problem for the next generation. We should actually understand that change and facilitate that change.
That makes me actually believe that the more restrictions you put on the natural flow of nature, the bigger rebel happens. Right. So I think it's better to actually go with the change. So what has been your challenges basically?
My challenges has been, health-wise, I told you already the challenges that I've had, and I think I always believe that the divide between the different sections of the society should be narrowed down. It should be, people should have access without a divide, whether it is to education, whether it's to sports, whether it's to healthcare, or whatever it may be, the sector. So that's why I started a NGO called HES Society, which is because all the three things which I am passionate about. H stands for health, E stands for education, and S stands for sports. This is to help people in these three areas. And it feels good that now there are about 6 students who are studying medicine whose fee is completely paid by this society. So we actually take care of a primary school for poor children, and we help them run that school. So there are multiple things within our capability, within our limitations that we can do, and you're also doing something good. I think that is something which is very important. We get a lot, without realizing we get a lot, not just from our parents, but from everybody, the world, the earth, the soil, we get so much. And I think we need to give it back in some form or the other.
Actually, when you say about giving back, my theory has always been this, that if at all you believe in God, God has given you a life, and that's a gift to you from him or her. And at the same time, there is a certain responsibility for you to also give something back to him or her. And I think good work is something that we all can do. Making sure that we are giving back to what has been given to us. I think that's one way. So from here, basically, this podcast is all about getting to know someone professionally, personally. And the biggest question that we ask is, what's your perspective on life? And especially all these years that you have lived so gracefully, I want to understand what's your perspective on life. What do you think life is all about?
Life is all about learning. Life is all about relationships, nurturing relationships, good relationships.
Right.
Life is about being positive and making sure that negativity at no point of time dominates the positive aspect of life. And last thing is, during a lifetime we gain so much from individuals, from parents, from siblings, from children, from society, from Mother Earth, nature. We gain so much. And we should always attempt to give back within our capacity. A lot of people may not be able to give back big things, but within our capacity, we should give back without the expectation of anything coming back in return for what we are giving. I think that is all life is about.
Right, and I think it takes a lot to actually come to this conclusion. If you ask me, I would have a different perspective again, but it's always great to have people like you, who inspire. I'm not being very generous, but it's an honor for me to actually be talking to you and the kind of work that you have been doing. And I think the realization that you are having as of now, it is stemmed from a very humble beginning, right? I mean, you can actually do many things today in your capacity, and not many people can actually do things that you do in whatever capacity they are at. But I think what you have learned and what you have been through, or whatever you are here, I think it's from a very humble beginning, and the kind of roots that you have even today, because I can understand that when I'm talking to you, I can understand the relatability here as well. I think that is what has actually made sure that you are here, the kind of person you are. And it was really great talking to you. And at the end, I just want to understand, what's your final dream or final goal that you want to achieve?
Final dream is to see India become a global leader. Obviously because of my passion for healthcare, but even otherwise to become a global leader.
All right. Well, that's it for the podcast. It was great talking to you. There's one segment actually that I wanted to do, but before that, I want to understand, how was your experience talking to me?
It was very nice. It was, like a conversation more than an interview. That's the basic difference. So it's nice.
Right. I just hope that Hyderabad also get this podcast. There are lots of podcasts going on. I just thought, let's do something and bring the community.
Where does this appear?
So we are over more than 8+ channels on streaming platforms. On YouTube, which is something, and on Instagram, we would be collaborating with you with your account. I've seen your account; it's really beautiful and colorful. So we would be doing that, and we are making sure that it goes to media channels as well. We are pushing it for that as well, and I'm sure this episode would be a breakthrough. And apart from that, there's a small segment I just want to tell you. If you're comfortable, we'll be doing it. So basically, we are more about impact and philanthropy. So the podcast is about impact and I have a soft corner for philanthropy as well. So what I do is, I play a small game with a guest, and whoever loses, let's say, they have to perform a dare.
Perform
a dare. A dare.
Dare. Okay.
Yeah, a dare, which is a philanthropic dare. So let's say you lose, or let's say I lost. You would have to pick a number from 1 to 4, and whichever number I pick, whichever dare is there written, I'll have to perform. So let's say if you lose, you'll be performing. So will you be comfortable to play a game?
I think we don't need to play a game. You tell me what you want to do, I'll do it. I don't have to lose to do something.
All right. So, well, having said that, I think we have a great rapport. And since you told that we don't need to play a game and you would love to do a philanthropic dare, how about you volunteering some of your time, an hour or two, in a government school where you can inspire 100 more children like me?
100%. Any day. You give me the time and place, I'll be there.
Thank you, sir. That was great. That was great, and I'm really happy that you accepted the dare as well.
So it's always a privilege.
All right, sir. And having said that, I'd also love to talk about the foundation that I was talking about. But it was great having you, sir. It was great talking to you. It was my pleasure.
All the best.